I'm Tom Landon. Join me as we learn what it takes to keep elders safe from scammers. In today's world, fraud and scams are seemingly everywhere and can impact everyone. But one group that is disproportionately targeted is our older population, both because they may have more assets than their younger counterparts and because they may be less tech savvy than others. My guests today are from the local Office on Aging, which advocates for seniors in ways from providing Meals on Wheels, legal and tax help, health and wellness programs, and meeting the essential needs of older folks in the 5th Planning District. Ron Boyd is President and CEO, and Robbie Boyd is the Director of Elder Rights, among other responsibilities with the agency. I'm so grateful that you guys have taken the time to come talk to us today.
No, thanks for having us.
And I think our viewers may be noticing there's some similarity between the two of you. We should start out by saying you are related.
Yes, we are.
Okay, great. And how are you related?
Robbie's my son.
Great. I think that's probably obvious to our viewers, but just want to make that clear from the start. Ron, you've been involved with LOA for a long time. Tell me a little bit about your journey to where you are now in terms of the work you're doing.
Well, personally, when I started back in '89, I believe it was, back then we had employment programs, job training programs. It was called Title V. So that's originally what I was hired to do. We had a large workforce program to help subsidize seniors. They needed to get back in the workforce. So I did that for quite a few years, and then that kind of led into some other things like housing, emergency services, prescriptions programs, telephone assurance programs, case management. I was over all of that. I've been a case manager. Let's see, what else have I done?
Well, that's probably really helpful in your job as CEO to have come up from the ranks to see how everything works. And Robbie, you watched your dad do this, I'm sure, as you were growing up, and what made you think it was something you wanted to do as well?
Well, I often joke and tell everybody that I've been with LOA for 34 years, as long as he's been there, because that's when I was introduced to it as a child. We did Meals on Wheels as a family growing up, and so we got introduced to LOA. But dealing with law enforcement, I spent 6.5 years with our Roanoke City Sheriff's Department. And then I took a transition to mental health support services, direct mental health support services, which there is a variety of ages through that, but a lot of our seniors are in there. And so when COVID hit, right before it hit, our job transition happened, and I had a position that opened up at LOA with care transitions. And so I've been hooked ever since. Never thought I would be working at LOA, but I've always had the heart for our community and outreach.
As I prepared for this conversation, I know that LOA does a lot of things, but it really is kind of a one-stop shop for, what do you consider your demographic? At what point is someone eligible for LOA services?
Well, 60 and over for the most part. And our mission statement is we help older persons remain independent for as long as possible. That's kind of translated more recently the last decade to healthy aging, help people live longer and live better. And so that's really where a lot of our focus has been.
And I mean, the number of services you provide really is astounding. One thing that strikes me is, I think it's just in recent years, probably since you've been with the agency, that older people are now kind of recognized as a group that, it's not that they need extra services, but they do qualify as a group that it's not a minority group or whatever, but it is a group that can face unique challenges and sometimes discrimination, right?
Oh, absolutely. There's a lot of age discrimination out there. We're right now probably on the tail end of what we call the silent generation. You grew up, you didn't ask for help, you stayed very independent, and it was a sign of weakness if you asked for help. Baby boomers, of course, now are kind of driving the ship. Baby boomers such as myself, and we're pretty outspoken and a little more tech savvy, so we know what's out there and what's available, and we speak out.
Right.
Right.
We know what to ask for a little better. Robbie, as someone who has been involved in, as you said, the community for a long time, one thing that I don't know if this is going to carry through in future generations, but right now, the group of seniors that we have are, in many cases, on the other side of the digital divide, aren't they?
Absolutely. You can see the difference that takes place. It's a valley. There's a valley and a gap in between the digital divide where our seniors, if we're not doing the resources, helping them with our LOA services, we're actually hands-on in a lot of our service in the digital world, and we try to help them the best we can, but it usually relies on us in the millennial ages and so forth in that term.
Well, I think many of us in my demographic and younger, we find ourselves being tech support for our parents, right?
Absolutely. I remember when iPhone came out and having many conversations with even my parents on different things with the iPhone and what it could do, how they set up things, but this goes way beyond. There are so many services that are only offered through the digital platform. That hurts our seniors in a big way because of that gap. If they can't get the service because it's digital, how do we connect them?
I actually just saw a social media post with someone who's a little older complaining about things like their grocery store. In order to access the discounts now, it's only available, and everybody wants to direct us away from the personal service at the checkout line to scanning our own groceries and everything. All of that becomes a challenge. And I don't want, that's not the topic of our show, but I think we could have a whole nother one on that. I just want to ask you a little bit, Meals on Wheels is such an important program, and just remind our viewers, how does that work, and how can they get involved if they want to?
Well, we're very fortunate in this area. We have a lot of volunteer support because the more volunteers we can utilize to deliver meals, the more meals we can serve. So in all of the regions, the planning districts in the state, we're usually way at the top because of that. So big shout out to our volunteers. But Meals on Wheels is basically for seniors that are homebound that cannot get out well, they don't have someone, or they can't prepare the noontime meal. So we deliver daily almost 600 during the weekdays.
And that's
600
so it's a
hot meals.
lunchtime meal, but I'm sure many of your customers stretch that out a little bit.
Yeah, they do. Well, good point, which is why we started Pets Eat Too. Seniors, many of them, most of their family, they don't live here, or many of their friends or family are deceased, so they were sharing their meals with the pets. So we've been doing Pets Eat Too, which is a collaboration with the SPCA, probably for soon be 15 years.
So pet food is delivered along with the meals?
Absolutely, yes, for cats and dogs, along with the regular delivery of the Meals on Wheels. So it's been a super support to our seniors.
Wow, that's great. Anything new that's going on at LOA that you want to highlight while you got the chance?
Well, really for the past 7 years, we've really shifted to what I call the medical model, just abbreviated. We started care transitions, fall prevention programs, a lot of things like that. We've got care transition coaches, recently community health workers, our Center for Health and Wellness, which we actually opened up last September. So we've been open about a year, just adjacent to our main facility. We host lunch and learns. We had a health fair there recently. We tried to bring medical providers in there. We've started about 2 months ago evening social hours to help combat the social isolation.
And that's so much of it, isn't it? The isolation. And I think that even falls into kind of our topic today, which is when we talk about our elders being taken advantage of by people, often I think in a general sense, do you think some of that has to do with isolation and just like the willingness to pick up the phone and talk to somebody when I might let that unknown number go to voicemail, an older person might be more inclined to pick it up. Is that?
Absolutely. When you talk about social isolation, and when COVID hit, it opened up the door for opportunities for the scammers. It opened the opportunities for those to harm our seniors because they were isolated. So imagine a young 70-year-old woman sitting at home all by herself, afraid of what's on the news, afraid of what's being reported, afraid of friends passing away, and then you get a phone call. Those phone calls can be three different types. One, it could be the scammer who's looking to give you extra insurance, those free things, and they want to have a conversation. The next thing you know, you're giving them your Medicare information, you're giving them your Social Security number, you're giving them your address, you're giving them everything they need to access your information. Or they have the romance scams. It even targeted our nursing homes, where family and loved ones could not believe that people were falling in love with people over the phone who they've never met, or through email, through web chats. And then the other one is the grandparent scam. Some grandparents are just all by themselves and have never heard from their grandson or their granddaughter, but all of a sudden they get that phone call that says that the grandson's in trouble or the granddaughter's hurt at the beach.
And let's talk about how that one starts, because I think many of us have heard of that happening. Never happened to either of my parents before they passed, but we've definitely heard about it from friends. How is it possible that someone can convince you, and the grandparents game, you might go tell us a little more about what it is.
Sure.
But how is it possible that a stranger can call and convince a person that they've been arrested and please don't tell mom and dad and I need $5,000 or whatever?
Well, think about the telephone. I mean, you can be easily tricked. And when first thing they say is, "Hey, it's me." And you're saying, "Well, who is this? You don't recognize me?" And they give you that general information. They start the conversation as we are familiar with each other. And because we're familiar, then you can start to have that conversation. And a good artist is what I will call them. They're an artist at what they do. They craft their ability to have that conversation, get tangible information from you to convince you that they're your grandson. We had a case in Roanoke where a gentleman thought his grandson had broke down at a beach. And during my presentation, he discussed how this happened with this actual situation. This gentleman lost over $16,000.
Well, and I heard that, I mean, the average loss in America is over $30,000 per incident. That, I mean, that's kind of astounding that it's not a few $100s, but it's 30. If that's the average, then people are losing hundreds of thousands of dollars, right?
Yes, and actually, you know, if you go to the FBI's website, this is where a lot of loved ones call us, the sons and the daughters who are concerned for their aging parent, right? And they'll say, how can I convince them? If you go to the FBI's website, they have actual documentaries and evidence-based testimonies of seniors who've been taken advantage of. And we asked the FBI, when we met with them, how often can we track this? How often do we report this? And they want it reported as many times as possible.
And people probably are ashamed, right? Many things with aging are tied to shame, and you worry about the loss of your own faculties. So, you know, whether it's a scam or some other thing that affects a senior, they're probably less likely to, you talked about that greatest generation, less likely to report it, right?
Well, it's, again, a sign of weakness, and we're all susceptible on a busy day. About a year ago, I didn't fall for it, but I did momentarily. Someone that I knew wouldn't ask for help. You know, it's the thing, in the hospital, can't get out, I need a birthday present or whatever for my niece. And so I started trying to get a hold of the person. I thought, well, they wouldn't ask just in a moment of weakness. Well, think if you're isolated, if you don't have many friends or family. I mean, just talking, you know, like Robbie said, on the phone, just having someone to talk to means a lot, and we're all susceptible at a moment of weakness.
Yeah. One of the things that is common, I think a lot of us know, is that when these criminals reach out to people, they often ask for payment in sort of non-standard ways, like, oh, you know, you may have won this prize, like a sweepstake is common, right? Where you won a prize, but I need payment in gift cards or whatever. What is it with gift cards that makes it such good currency for people to scam us with?
Well, the reason they use that currency is because it's not traceable to them. If I get your gift card, there's no way for the law enforcement to get that money back. You can follow a check, you can follow a routing number, you can follow how you mail somebody something, but giving them a gift card over the phone, they can never trace it back to the culprit. So it's easy to manipulate them. And the second part of that is a lot of, and this actually happened in Roanoke, there was a female that was in her early ages of 70 to 80 years old, we'll say, and they kept getting called saying they owed a bill on their cell phone and that this was a legitimate bill. And they said, if you do not give us payment right now, we're going to send the sheriff's office to your house to arrest you. So she said, I was scared for my life, so I just gave them my birthday Walmart gift card of $50, and they never called back. And I asked her, I said, well, why did you do that? I just wanted the phone calls to stop, and I was legitimately scared for my life.
Well, in that scam, one of my coworkers was telling me that had happened to a relative, and the fear of they're going to threaten, the police are going to come to your house.
Mm-hmm.
Well, for some in our community, that is worse than others, right? The police wants to come to my house, come on, you know, great, I'll have a conversation with that officer. But that is, but that's not the case in all cases. What's the right response for a viewer at home who's had these calls before, or who has a mother or father who has? What's the right response if someone says that? Is it just to hang up?
Absolutely. Hang up. Block the phone call. If you have a relative that's going through that, show them how to block phone numbers. It's easily done on the cell phone. It's easily managed because a lot of our cell phone carriers now carry an app, or they carry that service in part of it that shows up in scams. I mean, I get 10 scam calls a day, and I have to just let it go to voicemail. But the best thing to do is hang up. The second thing is to do, report it. Report those phone numbers of people impersonating a business. Report it to the Better Business Bureau. It's very easy to do. Call them, tell them there's a company out there impersonating them. And then the third thing is report it to your local law enforcement, or the FBI actually has a website where you can report those fraudulent phone calls to them. And they do their best, because if they get an uptick with a certain phone number, then they start trying to trace it.
And am I correct that if someone is not tech savvy, doesn't use the internet, maybe they could call the local office on aging to talk about that as well?
Absolutely.
One of the scams that comes up is lottery. You've won this prize. I think as someone, people who grew up with the Publishers Clearinghouse, my mother, who passed away recently, was still sending in her Publishers Clearinghouse stuff. She was pretty savvy, so she didn't get, but winning a sweepstakes, and how do they convince you that you've won a sweepstakes?
Oh, I mean, I just got a phone call a month ago on a voicemail that I won $1.5 million in a brand new BMW. And they convince you because when you call, they legitimately try to, again, they're using their art, they're using their creativeness, they're using these tangible words to convince you. You remember when you signed that ticket raffle, or you put it in at a restaurant? We've got your name, so this is what we need. We need your banking information, we need your credit card.
So we can deposit the check, right?
Absolutely. It's just like the faxes. We even get at LOA that there's somebody over in a different country who they passed away, but they're just the attorneys trying to give us their inheritance. It's a scam, but if I can trick you, if I can convince you that I know you or we have familiarity, that's what's going to get us opening that door of conversation.
One of the things that's come up a couple times, we've talked about, sort of tech savviness. One of the scams that's very common is it's kind of the tech support scam, right? They send you a phishing email, you click on that link, and it puts something on your computer.
Sure.
Where does it go from there? What happens after that?
Well, as soon as you click on it, it's going to send it to the scammer's phone number. They're going to immediately call you. They're going to say, we need access to your computer. And so there's a different buttons that you need to push on your home screen and things like that gives them a website. And so then they say, okay, give us these numbers, type these numbers in, and they basically take a snapshot of everything on your computer. So they just convince you that there's something wrong with your computer when it pops up. The same thing. So it's not just Microsoft. You have Microsoft, you have Geek Squad that they're doing, Norton Antivirus they're sending these emails, and it pops up saying, okay, you need to renew your subscription, or you have a problem with your computer, we need to do this. And it just goes from there. So as soon as you click the link, again, you're opening the door for them. And then they want access to your computer. With Apple products, that doesn't work that way. With Microsoft, unfortunately, they're able to do that. Now they're starting to get slick, I'll say it like that, as the old timers would say, they're getting slick with all the technology now and trying to do new and advanced things, especially with AI.
And this brings me to, this happened to a very close relative of mine, and she did end up giving them all kinds of information, when the solution was to take it to a local computer store and say, get rid of this pop-up. And they did, for $30 or something, they were able to fix that. I want to transition with that into talking about the importance of kind of local services and vendors who we can trust. And I'm thinking about plumbers and people who do HVAC work and this sort of thing. I was thinking, say, it's one of the most important things in life is to have a good mechanic, a good plumber, and a good electrician on your phone, right, so that you can call them. My own mother, who recently passed away, one of the things I had to do when I settled her estate, and I won't name the company, but it is a company that operates locally that offers warranties on home things. And I don't know if you've heard of this happening before or not. Convinced her that she needed a new water heater. I don't know if she did or not. When she passed away, we had to write them a check for $2,600 to pay for a water heater that she had leased. She had no idea she'd leased this piece of equipment. I mean, and this felt like a local person who was doing this to her already, but it wasn't, Plumber Joe. This was a national company. Are there sort of more legitimate businesses who have business practices that give you pause?
I always suggest do your research and do your homework. Now, you go back to the word tech savvy. There are seniors out there that legitimately have no access to a computer to do the research, to do the phone calls. That's where we come in. We help with people, connecting them to people in the community, not necessarily the consumer as far as to that plumber and things like that, but we connect them to the right avenues to check, to work with people. There's several agencies that we work with hands-on that they have connections on their websites. AARP is one of them that we connect people to that have a list of things. Senior Navigator is another one. And we help connect them to these right people, but then you say, okay, I don't have a tech-savvy person, I can't have them come in. So we do the phone calls, we reach out to these people who have a phone number, and that's where we do the behind-the-scenes work. During the pandemic, the tech-savvy part, and I'll just harp on that for a minute, there were so many businesses that were shut down during that COVID pandemic. LOA wasn't one of them. We received multiple calls for different things like you're talking about, who can help me, and we put them in touch with real people. That's where LOA comes in. We connect people with real people, not just a temporary Band-Aid.
Right, and I guess that's so much of your mission is just giving people the confidence to live their best lives, right?
And really, at the end of the day, if you go back to the elementary parts of it, if you need an electrician, if you need a plumber, if you need work on your computer, ask someone you trust, a family member, a friend, someone in your church, someone in your neighborhood.
Right. If somebody calls you to solicit you, that may or may not be your friend. Might be, right? Might be a legitimate business who calls to, cold calls to hook things up. Last of the scams I want to talk to you about, and I think I have it in my pocket because I get my mother's mail now, and I keep getting these things. And what this is this one's for Vehicle Service Division. Well, my mother didn't have a car. So that, obviously, I didn't understand what that was. This one came yesterday, and it is an original document, it says right here. But then you open it up, it says, this is not a check, but boy, doesn't that look like a check.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Right? And it's for, I don't know, $200 or something. And this document has a blue background and microprinting. It is not a check, but it looks like a check. And I think my mother would have thought this was a check for $200 made out to her. I don't know what would have happened if she would have signed this, but it has something to do with the mortgage. When you're on a fixed income and somebody wants to send you $200, what does that say to you? And as a senior, what would you do?
Again, the vulnerability. If I see an opportunity to get $50, $100, even $25, seniors will jump on it. They will jump at the chance to have it because in America right now, we're suffering a great crisis. They're living on literally a paycheck. Social Security, if they have the bare minimum, we have seniors that call our offices every week asking for financial assistance, asking where do I turn to for financial answers.
Right, I need to pay
so
this,
if I see that check, I'm going to take it to my local bank, I'm going to try to cash it, and then they don't understand what's going to happen at the end. I'm going to be hit with that penalty, then I'm going to lose money. Then I give this company access to my bank account. And it may start with $25 and $50, but again, we always encourage everyone every senior, go to your bank institution. They have specific people who are designed to catch those fraudulent checks or explain it to them in a better way.
And help report it. And we're down under a minute now, so I want to ask you just the role of people like, I've heard of people at the CVS who, when somebody came to buy bank cards, they said, wait, ma'am, that's not real. People at the bank. How important is it that we look out for each other in our communities in the last little bit of time we have?
Well, we all need to look out for each other, especially the senior population is growing. We're already 1 in 4 over 65. That'll be 1 in 3 in less than 10 years in our region. So if you have neighbors, people in your church, you have friends, just look at, especially during inclement weather, different times, check in on them.
Yeah, and the answer is always community.
Yes,
I want to thank
it
you.
is.
I'd like to thank my guests for an enlightening conversation. You can find out more about LOA at loaa.org. And if you live outside of their service area, you can find your local agency at seniornavigator.org that we referred to a little while ago. For What It Takes, I'm Tom Landon.